Buzz
Bites.
All right. Party people in the place to be, vandals and whatever might be lurking out there in the darkness. We are back with a brand new Buzz Bite. This time we are going to be talking about the very wonderful, very esoteric, and variety-laden soundtrack for probably one of my favorite films from one of my favorite directors. Joe, what movie soundtrack are we covering today?
Lost Highway, a David Lynch film from '97, I believe.
Yes, indeed. I was a freshman in high school when this bad boy came out. Very
Wait,
influential.
wait. We're not doing the Shrek 2 soundtrack? I'm fucking out of here.
Hey, man, we got Smash Mouth coming. Like, I bet you David Lynch would be. I bet you if you asked him right now, he'd be like, you know what? Like, the Lost Highway soundtrack would have been a little more perfect if I had some Smash Mouth on it. Like,
You're
I guarantee you he
joking?
would say that.
You're joking. But I literally, my friend that I was just mentioning in the pre-chat, I showed him Fushu Mang today and was bragging about how it was the greatest Smash Mouth album. But that's not the point. We're talking about Lost Highway, baby. The OST. Let's get into it.
Right. Well, before we get into the songs and start going over the tracks and stuff, I kind of wanted to talk about our personal experiences with this movie, with David Lynch, and kind of our first response to seeing the film and what the soundtrack meant to us. Goose, you go ahead and take it away first.
Oh, definitely. I have not seen this specific film in probably 10 years. So I'm not the biggest person to tell you how great it is held up. However, I will tell you how much I love David Lynch. I could watch Blue Velvet. I could watch goddamn Twin Peaks for hours on end, including the newer, weirder stuff. Not the point. David Lynch is this force of nature that is not to be reckoned with. And one thing that I will mention that I always try to mention whenever he comes up is in the final scenes of season 2 of Twin Peaks, Laura Palmer in the Red Room says to the detective, is it Cole? Detective Cole?
Cooper.
Cooper, you're right. Dale Cooper, you're right. So she says to Detective Cooper, I'll see you in 25 years.
You do that too good. You do that too good.
Oh, God, I can do the whole fucking Red Room voices all day long. I can even do the little, hey, my mom's here. I can even do the little person dance. Like, that's my favorite shit.
I bust that move all the time, too, man. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, no, and so, like, but Laura Palmer in the Red Room says to Dale Cooper at the very last episode in 1992, I'll see you in 25 years. And then, hey, woo! 25 years later, we open to season 3 of Twin Peaks with goddamn Dale Cooper walking in on Laura Palmer in the Red Room. And, like, okay, in real life, it was 25 years. And, like, I think that David Lynch had this shit all planned out because he's that much of a fucking mastermind. When he makes a movie, when he puts the soundtrack to the movie, it is nothing less than fucking perfect. And this is an incredible album that we could be talking about. One of the better original soundtracks, in my opinion. I've been listening to it pretty consistently for the past 5 days. It's kick ass. Very mental. I love it.
Joey, your connections to this director and this film particularly?
The first Lynch movie I ever saw was Wild at Heart when I was 13. So, my experiences with David Lynch are pretty bizarre and weird from a young age. So, yeah, that was my first intro, was Nick Cage and Wild at Heart, which was just fucking warped my mind when I was 13. I was like, it just...
That's
so bizarre,
though, man.
So
So
strange.
cool.
Oh yeah, like for sure. It was like deranged, violent. Lynch. Basically, it's Lynch, right? He has this tone and this style that's so surreal, and it makes you feel uncomfortable as you're watching it. He's great at what he does, right? I mean, and then later on, go on and watch Blue Velvet, Twin Peaks. Start diving into a little more of his stuff. Watched Elephant Man, Eraserhead. Once I got into college, I took a film class. We had to watch Eraserhead, so I watched that when I was in college. The guy's consistently puts out these bizarre, moody, atmospheric movies that just keeps you on edge the whole time you're watching, and this one is no different.
Right, right.
David Lynch will sell you the whole seat, but you're only going to need the fucking edge.
This movie was actually my introduction to him. I remember, actually, it was the soundtrack to this because of who were on it. I was really getting into punk at this time, but I still did like some mainstream artists. Most of them are on this album, so it was what drew me to it. And then I went and saw this in the theater, and I was just like, what the hell did I just watch, man? Because this thing is, it's probably his weirdest film, except for maybe Inland Empire, in my opinion. It's a film noir in its own right, but it's just so vivid, so lush and surreal. And at that time, I'd also pretty much had really gotten obsessed with the comic book The Max by Sam Keith. So I was really becoming a surrealist in my own right. And Lynch really helped that with this. After I watched Lost Highway, I went and saw the Twin Peaks movie Fire Walk with Me. And that was just insane. I loved it even more. And yeah, like you, I went and watched everything that he had out at the time. And then, yeah, when Mulholland Drive was coming out a little bit later, I got so excited for that. And yeah, he still delivers. I think he's working on something right now, a movie that he's doing for YouTube, right?
I haven't heard about the YouTube video, but I just want to make the connection. I'm a very big David Lynch fan. I'm a very big Sam Keith the Max fan, and I did not put those two in the same category. But now that you mention it, the surrealism of David Lynch kind of complements Sam Keith's perfectly, and that's such a good connection.
Right. Well, I mean, it's just how they both leave it open. It's an audience participation piece of media. Like, they give you the story, they give you this visual presentation, but it is up to you to put it all together and figure out what it means for you personally. And I really appreciate that about both artists, and that's why I kind of lumped them together.
Yeah, see, Lynch for me is like the gateway drug, into all these weird movies like Naked Lunch, all these fucked up weird movies that, and Lynch is the guy that kind of transitioned me to liking all these other movies that are kind of surreal and bizarre. In these? Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Go. I was just gonna say, would you compare the sensations you get from a David Lynch film to the same ones you feel watching a David Cronenberg film? That uncomfortableness.
Very similar. Yeah, they're very similar. That's what I mean. Yeah, yeah. I consider, although it's not the same in content, you get the same visceral feeling, the same uneasiness, the same, it affects you kind of in the same way, but one is geared more towards body horror and the gruesome, and Lynch is more psychological. He gets in your head and makes you uncomfortable, right? You question what is real, what isn't. It's much more psychological than maybe Cronenberg. Cronenberg is
visceral,
visceral, but it's a little bit psychological. But he relies a lot on visual horrors, to try to get you on edge, things that would make you uncomfortable,
and that's why I'm drawing the connections between the two, because the physical uncomfortableness I get from watching a Cronenberg film is the same type of surreal, mental, abstract feeling that I get from watching a David Lynch film. I would put them almost in the same category as how uncomfortable they make me feel, where David Lynch's is more cerebral and David Cronenberg's is more visual.
Yeah, well, exactly. If you want to see how close they actually can be, check out David Cronenberg's first film. It's called Stereo or Radio. Okay. I think it's Stereo. It's basically this mock educational film, and it's meant to kind of show you this scientific procedure that's going on with these telekinetic people. It's kind of oddly a prequel to Scanners, because they kind of talk about a character that's very similar to Michael Ironside's character, and that drills a hole in their head. But the way it's put together, the way it's shot and everything, very, very reminiscent to Eraserhead. The only difference is Lynch made his about 10 years after Cronenberg, because Stereo came out in 1968.
Well,
when he was in college.
I think when I think about Eraserhead, and I think about like the very like it comes later on in the film, but the very small parts of body horror that you get from it, from the actual like
The baby
yes, and so like
and the little tiny chickens creep me the fuck out too when it
well,
starts
not just
moving on the
that, but
plate.
David Lynch has a propensity to use unordinary people. Like look at the giant from Twin Peaks, or even the little person as well. Like it's just one of those things where like David Lynch, he doesn't use body horror to the same degree as Cronenberg, but I feel like the things that he does are reminiscent of that Cronenberg style.
Because
Right.
Lynch is very rooted in reality. Like his visuals are all things like they're not effects heavy. It's either makeup, mood, the actor acting like extreme, like to one degree or another. It's there. Like if you watch his movies, he doesn't rely on effects to set his mood or to creep you out. Like you said, it's very cerebral. It's very psychological. It's all in the performance, the music, which we're going to be talking about. Like he pinpoints every little aspect of his movie to set that mood and put you on edge. Like there isn't one single part of any scene that he hasn't thought through.
Well, to lead us into the music aspect, if we're talking about David Lynch's body of work, I think I told you on the pre-chat, I own the vinyl records for not just the original soundtrack for Twin Peaks, but also the made-for-TV movie Firewalk with Me, which are both beautiful albums with Angelo Badalamenti, who is also on this album.
Fire Walk with Me wasn't a TV movie, man. That was a theatrical film. It got shown in Cannes. It won the Palme d'Or, man.
Really? I was under the assumption, because now this is a year before I was even birthed. Like I was still a twinkle in my dad's eye when this shit was going on. And so like I wasn't sure, but like I'd seen Twin Peaks about 6 years before I even knew Firewalk with Me existed. And the only reason I knew about Firewalk with Me is because when I bought the Twin Peaks original soundtrack, it was one of those suggested things. And the Twin Peaks soundtrack that I got has the Damn Fine coffee colored vinyl, which is like brown and blackish and super cute. But when you get the Firewalk with Me, it's the Damn Fine Pie colored album, which is red and kind of like cherry pie.
Cherry pie to kill for. Cherry pie to kill for.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And so like I got into that, and Angelo Badalamenti, who plays a big role in this album that the soundtrack that we're gonna be talking about, he does such a good job of capturing the feels that David Lynch wants you to feel. And I think that's a really good way to open up how this album makes you feel, regardless of whether you've seen the movie or not.
Yeah. The music for this is incredible. As far as I know, I think this is the first time Lynch ever did a soundtrack like this. I think it's the only film he's done one with that had so much popular modern music on it. Usually his soundtracks consist of Roy Orbison songs and weird oldies, you know what I mean? But this one actually had contemporary music of its time, which kind of sets it apart, and that's why I'm really happy that we're doing this one. But yeah, getting into it, this is really a really neat experience for a record, because like I said, you have like Nine Inch Nails, you got really early Rammstein, you got Smashing Pumpkins, and then you got Badalamente's just beautiful jazz sprinkled all the way through it. So you get this eclectic array, just a rainbow of sound that is just incredible. Ominous tones, beautiful tones, Billy Corgan squawking. I mean, it's all on this damn record. And yeah, you guys want to get into it? Start talking some.
Yeah,
okay, Goose, go first. Go ahead and say what you go say.
I'm a big Smashing Pumpkins fan. I love Billy Corgan's fucking voice and all the fucked up things he does. But that was my least favorite track on the entire album.
Hey, wait till we're covering. We're gonna get to that song. We're gonna do each song on. We go over every song until it's over, man. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Then we'll get to that then.
And I think it's important to note that Trent Reznor produced this. This is the second soundtrack he produced. The first one was for Oliver Stone's Natural Born Killers. And this was the second stab he's had at producing a soundtrack. And this Natural Born Killers and this kind of led him into the whole movie soundtrack composer realm, which now he's considered a legend. He's won 2 Oscars for original compositions, one for Social Network and the other one for the Disney movie Soul. So this movie is very
Disney movie. Are you
kidding
me?
Soul, yeah, the one that
Soul
came out
was
on
incredible.
Disney Plus. Yeah, Trent Reznor, man.
I want to fuck
Trent
you,
Reznor?
composer guy.
Trent Reznor's the composer on that, man.
I thought you said Trent
surreal.
Reznor was a poser, and I was like, yeah, I guess if he's doing Disney shit now.
This soundtrack was huge for his career in the movie business, which now he's like who doesn't want Trent Reznor to compose their soundtrack, their score? Like, the dude's won 2 Oscars. I mean, he's turned into a legend now.
That's some David Lynch surrealism on its own there, man. He is doing Disney movies, man. That is
I saw Trent Reznor in 2014, and I mean, that still doesn't seem like that long ago to me, but it's been 7 years now. And like, when I saw him on tour, it was Trent Reznor, Chris Cornell, and Death Grips. It was a fucking sick ass show. But at the time, like, Trent Reznor was still like doing the stuff on stage that, like, I don't know, his whole act is insanity. And that's what he pushes across. And I don't think there could have been a better way to start the insanity of a David Lynch movie without bringing in, at that time, which is 97. This is a few years after the 9 Inch Nails. What's the big album from 94 that they did?
Downward Spiral.
Yeah. So you're talking about one of the biggest acts in contemporary rock or like industrial rock is what I kind of put them in. And so, like, I really would compare his style of music to David Lynch's style of directing, in that, like, you got March of the Pigs, which is one of the March of the Pigs, so goddamn good. And like, you could have thrown that song in on any part of this movie, and it probably would have fit in. And I really do think that you couldn't have had a better choice to start the album than Trent Reznor on that at that point in time.
But getting into this bad boy. First up, we have a pretty cool, pretty groovy, got a really killer techno beat song called I Am Deranged by David Bowie. He got some really nice soaring vocals on this thing. I love the way the track just kind of cuts out, though, because remembering this song from the film, I always think of driving, and then, like, it just kind of cuts off, and it makes me think that, like, David Bowie was just singing this beautiful song and got in a car wreck, and that's why the song just cuts off like that. Goose, what's your take on I'm Deranged by Mr. David Bowie?
We had mentioned this before. I actually did not get the I Am Deranged song or the reprise that ends the album off of Spotify. So I am going to bow out of this one and let Joe take over.
It was okay. I mean, there's a lot of David Bowie songs I prefer over this one, and for some reasons, knowing that Trent Reznor was the producer on this, and the first song is David Bowie, and I remember around 97 there was all those rumors that David Bowie and Trent Reznor were hooking up, and that's the only thing that kept going through my mind on that first song the whole time. I don't know, maybe that's why I couldn't get into it. I don't know. It's just. Anyway,
I think there's a better.
I was never a huge Bowie fan, but this time period of him when he was hanging out with Reznor, the whole "I'm Afraid of Americans" era of his music is the most interesting he ever was. I liked what the beats that Trent came up with for him and stuff. Yeah. But for modern Bowie, I'd say that this is probably one of his better eras that you could try to check out, is when he was rolling with Trent.
Now, I will say, I think there's a better chance that David Bowie is fucking Iggy Pop than Trent Reznor.
Oh, they probably definitely did back in the 70s at least, but yeah. Yeah.
Go watch Velvet Goldmine, man. That'll tell you everything you need to know.
What's Velvet Goldmine? Let's not divert this conversation too much.
It's a non-official movie biography of David Bowie and Iggy Pop. Go get it. It's got
I'm gonna go buy it tonight.
Ewan McGregor plays Iggy Pop, which he does a great job, actually.
I love Ewan McGregor.
Yeah, and he plays Iggy Pop. Yeah.
Is this pre-Train Spotting? Is this pre-Train Spotting?
No, right around the same time. It's
Just a
really
little
near
Easter egg.
Trainspotting. Yeah,
perfect. Oh, that's
yeah.
my
Go get
favorite
it. Go
Ewan
watch
McGregor.
it. Yeah.
Anyways, back to the conversation at hand. Like I said, I did not get to hear this song, but I have heard a lot of the David Bowie stuff from this era, and so I kind of do agree with Johnny. Now, I am more into the glam rock type stuff. You can tell by my appearance, but I do like David Bowie's like late '90s work when he was in that weird phase with Trent Reznor.
Wait, what about your appearance screams glam rock? Did you look like you listened to Leonard Skinner? You don't look like you listened to Bowie at all. Like your appearance, like that's so funny shit. But zipping along to the next song, we have "Video Drones and Questions" by Trent Reznor. This is actually just dialogue. It's a scene cut from the film,
Yeah.
really. That like he kind of just set really cool music to. It's a really kind of creepy part of the film, and it's just a nice atmospheric, short little clip. Like, what do you guys think of this one?
Joe,
It's
go ahead.
typical Lynch, man. Like setting the mood, like we're talking about. There's going to be a lot of original music by what's his name again? That really sets the mood, and it's always the same guy in all his movies, right? This guy comes back and does a lot of the original scores for a lot of his movies, and he knows Lynch because they started working together on Blue Velvet, and he knows exactly, like, these two guys are a well-oiled machine working together. It's like breathing air for the two of them. They're on the same wavelength, and I think Trent Reznor was trying to kind of channel that kind of atmosphere through this.
Now I'm looking at the track list right now, and it's giving credits to not just Trent Reznor but Peter Christopherson as well. I just wanted to shout him out if we're going to talk about it. I think that it is a very good way to start the album. It is very mood setting in the sense that when I found out we were doing this album and I put it on as I was starting to go into work, I really felt like my entire day was about to be filled with doom and gloom. and that's fair, because when I don't watch David Lynch pictures because I want to be happy. I watch David Lynch pictures because I want to feel whatever the fuck that madman is feeling at the time. And I think he did a good job. I guess it's going to be him, Bowie, and him, Bowie, and Reznor all hanging out around the same time if they're doing this film. And so I just can't imagine the type of weird shit that they came up with. Because we got the final result, but I just can't imagine what like Trent Reznor in '97 with David Bowie and David Lynch were cooking up. And so I think it's a perfect way to start the album. But it doesn't even compare to what's coming next.
Yeah, well, a good point. What's coming next, indeed, is, I don't know, it might be one of my favorite Nine Inch Nails songs ever, if not my favorite. It's definitely Trent at his most experimental. I think Joe's onto something. I think he really was inspired to try to be part of the project like Baldamente, because he goes way out of his way and does sounds he never does on any other songs ever. This is, of course, Perfect Drug by Nine Inch Nails. It has probably one of the greatest music videos ever too, but like that's besides the point. But oh man, it's just a powerful song. It's definitely in my opinion, one of Trent's crowning achievements. Joey, what's your take on Perfect Drug?
Perfect Drug, perfect song, man. That's all I've got to say. It's a great tune. So yeah.
What about that breakdown at the end where the drums come in, man? And
it's good. The first time I heard it, I dug it right from the first listen, which is kind of rare for me for Nine Inch Nails. I usually have to listen to his stuff a couple times before really getting into it, but this song just got me right away. And the problem with me with songs that I get into right away, I get sick of pretty quick. But this one, I never got sick of hearing it, and it played a lot. It was on pretty heavy rotation on the radio back in the day, so. Yeah, and I still dig it, so it's testament to how good it is.
All right, Goose, get cruel and mean on it.
Okay, well, fuck you. First off, I just got a text message from my dad, and he was very disappointed in me, which is not unusual, but he was like, hey, you gave a shout out to your mom, but you're not even going to say hi to your dad? So, Dad, this whole next set is specifically for you.
The block posters in his room. I believe it, Mr. Goose's dad, sir. Yeah, which one was his favorite, Joey?
Also, Dad, your favorite son, Bryce, says hello. He just made a guest appearance on the podcast. However, if we're going to get into Perfect Drug, I agree with Joe 100% as it being the perfect song. It is one of those Nine Inch Nails songs that I'll be honest, as big of a fan of Nine Inch Nails as I am, after seeing them in concert and all that, I had not heard this song before I put this album on. And
What? Get the fuck out of here.
Is it off of one of their other albums?
No, it's
but
only
played on the radio
available
all the
exactly.
time.
No,
It played on the radio like
I don't listen
like
to the radio.
crazy.
I don't listen to the radio. I don't watch TV. I just jerk off in churches. Not the point. Hey, Bryce. My dad says you're his favorite son. Anyway, so with that being said, the Perfect Drug is really the perfect song, especially going from the last song with Trent Reznor doing his more industrial, cerebral type stuff to leading into this song. And You Are the Perfect Drug. Like, it's just been ringing in my head over and over. And I think the droning of his voice on that song really kind of nails down the classic trope of comparing the one that you love to the drugs that you're addicted to. And I think that this song really played that out well. And I'm going to go back and watch the movie as soon as I can find it digitally and see how it compares with the movie. But this song really is like a perfect song. I on the album, when I went and listened to it on Spotify, you throw your little hearts up and it'll add it to your playlist. And this was one of I think there's like 6 songs from this album, most of them being Angelo Badalamenti, but I think this is one of the non-Angelo Badalamenti ones that I added to my playlist. It's such a good fucking song. And I'm really tempted to watch the video before we get off this podcast, but I'm going to hold up and wait.
Oh, man. The music video is so insane. Like, it's even better than Closer, which I think is hard to outdo that video. But I think the Perfect Drug video, just with all the kind of really neat Victorian era looking shit that's in it, really, really iconic, really cool looking. And he's got this Robin Hood mustache in the video. Like, I wish he'd rock that more. I would like to see Trent Reznor play Robin Hood if he grows that mustache. Like, you would be...
it was definitely a different look for him.
Yeah, he kind of looked more like Jack White in the video for this than he does normal Trent. But like, this was the last like really, really just hateful, angry, just pissed off Nine Inch Nails song that they ever came out with. Because after this, they went away for a while and he came back and did The Fragile, and they just have never had that just spite in them that they had in those first records. And this was kind of, in my opinion, the goodbye from Trent, the last really just solid kick in the soul that he could leave for me. And I appreciate it because like I said, I think it might actually be my favorite song he's done. And it's just amazing.
I can agree with you in the sense that like the vitriol and viciousness from Head Like a Hole from '89 doesn't compare to his later stuff. Like when you get into what is it?
Well, he still does hard music and he still talks a lot of shit. But when you listen to him and you hear his voice, like the anger, the frustration, the hatred, it's not there anymore. He's happy Trent, which I'm happy for him. If he wasn't happy Trent, I was always convinced he was going to murder somebody. Because like when I'd see him in interviews and stuff, he was a very malcontent person, really scary person. So when I see him now and he's just like, I love my wife and I win Oscars, I'm just like, well, that's good that you cleaned that up because I was worried for a while that like.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. So as I grew older, I liked a lot of the older stuff that Nine Inch Nails did, but I grew up with the with Teeth album, which had like excuse me, it had the Hand That Feeds
and all that.
Yeah.
And it's so like album, it's good.
No, I still got kind of that hate and violence from him, but I was so surprised after growing up listening to like the Hand That Feeds era Trent Reznor to hearing his older stuff, which is why I will always, when we're talking about Nine Inch Nails, bring up March of the Pigs. It's one of my absolute favorite songs of all fucking time, and I got to see him perform it live, and it was fucking but I can see what you're saying, that this was his last like big hurrah for violence, but I'm not too convinced because I thought that With Teeth was a pretty rough album.
It does in tone, but like his attitude's not there. It's not the same. At least for me, when I listen to it personally, it might be there for you, and that's cool. I've just for me, prospectively, when I listen to it, he's happy Trent now, and I'm fine. And he still talks shit, and he's still angry. You know, he is, but he's not he's not as focused on it. He's not as angry about his anger anymore. And
Now he's
as
angry and rich. There's
yeah,
a difference.
angry,
He was
rich, and
angry and
happy.
poor. Now he's angry and rich.
Yeah, March of the Pigs is definitely a song you can't make when you're super broke. But no, I really do think that the synthesis that we get from Lynch and Reznor and even Bowie with he has little track or playtime on this album. He's got the opening song and the reprise, but if he's hanging out with Trent Reznor in that area, I really think that this tone and this song really fits the David Lynch personality that he puts into his movies. And so I really don't think that there was a better choice for having Trent on that album.
Well, the cool thing about this is he found a bunch of musicians that idolize him. And that's really cool. I'm going to tell a story later on about Rammstein and how important they were to the soundtrack as well. I don't want to spoil it. We'll get to it when we get to their song. But like these bands, these artists that worked with him, they weren't just some guys that they picked because they were like, you know, these kids are hits right now. No, these guys actually like worship Lynch too. You know what I mean? So the thing is like they wanted to perform for him as well. They wanted to make a cool ass song for his cool ass movie. So it just married together really well. And yeah, I think Trent, like I think he really nailed what he was going for. And I think that's why I think even as a huge David Lynch fan, I think Lost Highway for me stands apart from a lot of his other films because of that almost metal edge Lynch had, because he was hanging out with these musicians while he was making this film. And yeah, it just kind of married together to make this piece of art that is so well respected anyways. You can't even call Lost Highway underrated, because anybody that knows the film like loves it. It's incredible. But yeah, we're gonna keep it cruising. This is the first Baldamente song, and I don't know, it might be my favorite, dude. This is Red Bats with Teeth. This thing starts off, it's really kind of groovy, really nice, got this nice bass line. Almost sounds like a Harry Mancini piece from like a 60s movie.
I think Goose is taking a piss.
But slowly when you're listening to this song, it's almost like you're listening to a horn have a mental breakdown. The saxophone's playing and it's just doing this kind of normal jazz routine, and then all of a sudden it just starts losing it. It's just like and it is a weird trip of a song, but it is just so lush and vivid at the same time. Joe, how do you feel about Red Bats with Teeth?
Well, this right here, like you guys said, Angelo's been working with Lynch for a long time, and right here you get a perfect example of how the music and the score adds to the mood and the atmosphere of the movie. Like, this is a perfect example. And this guy's been working, like I said, with him since Blue Velvet, which he was actually hired on to be a vocal coach for Isabella Rossellini for her singing thing. And that's how he hooked up with Lynch. And then Lynch got him to do the score and original music for Blue Velvet. And that's how he started working with Lynch. Started as just a vocal coach for Isabella Rossellini. And it just blossomed from there into what we get now on Lost Highway and a bunch of his other movies. So, yeah, man, like, it was great. It's so moody. And I think jazz is a fucking amazing, amazing genre of music to kind of. It's so. It isn't always clean. It's. It's improvisational as well, and it can get aggressive, quick, slow. Like, there's so much emotion and moods you can get from jazz, depending on how you play it. And I think he does a great job of, channeling all that.
I wonder if he did that song after the film was recorded, because like the horn, like going insane like that, it almost mirrors the characters of the film. I wonder if that was if David Lynch asked him to do that, or if they recorded that after the film was shot and decided it was a good take. But like, if you listen to the horn in this song, it almost gives you the trajectory of the characters of the movie, which is neat, a neat thing to think about.
Yeah, like the way that the songs build into like a frenzy, or it starts weird, then it just really calms down. Like throughout, like each song, like it almost tells a story on its own. Like you could feel a story developing through the music. It's crazy, like you said. It's really well done.
All right, Twitchy boy, get on it.
Angelo Badalamenti is one of my favorite fucking people to work with. David Lynch. Like I was mentioning before, the highlight of the Twin Peaks original soundtrack was Angelo Badalamenti's score. He does fantastic. I'm a big fan of jazz. I'm a big fan of metal. And I compare Angelo Badalamenti to, have you guys ever heard of Naked City?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, thank God. So the freeform type of metal jazz that they push out, and like Torture Garden is one of my favorite albums of all time. Like I listen to Torture Garden when I want to calm down. Yeah, right. Yeah. I think that's, criminating. Not the point. Point is Angelo Badalamenti is able to produce the same type of soundscapes and feels that Naked City produce without having to add distortion or that wild freeform type of jazz that they do. I think that everything he does as far as when it comes to doing a film score is perfect, because he is and I say that knowing that the only times that I've ever actually shown an interest in Badalamenti is when he has worked with Lynch. That original, the Song of the Nightingale. Is that the name of it? I don't want to.
I think it's called Nightingale. The song from Twin Peaks.
Yeah, the Nightingale. You're looking at a guy who has composed some of the greatest original music for David Lynch, and I could not have imagined an original soundtrack without him. And so when we were talking earlier this week about whether we were going to do the instrumental stuff or just like the main songs, like I said, I could not imagine a David Lynch film or David Lynch original soundtrack to one of his films if it didn't have Badalamenti on it. The man is a fucking legend, and he kills it at everything he does. I think he is the equivalent to jazz music to what David Lynch is to film.
But this particular track, man, you got any reaction to it and specifically?
You said this one is bats?
The red bats with teeth. Yeah, the one with the bass line and the saxophone just going insane.
I had something, but I'm done.
You goosed out. I gotcha. Okay, cruising right along. We got another Badalamenti song. This one is called "Haunting and Heartbreaking," and it's actually not that foreboding of a song. It is composed of deep, ominous tones, but they're very lovely. And speaking of his Twin Peaks work, this track is actually severely reminiscent to the music you will hear from Twin Peaks. It's very kind of a throwback to that, and it's just lush and lovely. Joey, you got any words for this one?
I mean, atmospheric, like you said, it sets a tone, like many of his songs. Like it's very, like a lot of like soundtracks. Usually, like you say, they'll take popular songs and hits, right? But these songs that he makes are specifically composed for the movie, so they're integrated perfectly to the movie. And this is just another great example of just setting the tone. And like you said, it's very atmospheric, and it's just a mellow, smooth song.
Hell yeah! All right, Mr. Gymnastics, you're buzzing all over the place.
Yeah, no, always. But no, point is I have the song playing in the background now, which is why I was kind of confused on the last one. I switched these two up. So this one is the definitely more atmospheric one. But when I think about bats, I think about like being in a cave and hearing this kind of like synthy sound, which is what this is producing. So sorry for the mix up, but no, this one is definitely, I think atmospheric is the perfect word to describe this song and most of David The most of Battle of Mindy's work. I'm pause that now because I can still hear it. But no, he does incredible work, especially on this song. I feel like I said, I haven't seen the movie in almost a decade, but this really sets the mood for what I imagine a David Lynch movie would sound like.
Hell yeah. And all right, zipping right along, we have a song. Goose might not care very much for it, but I absolutely adore this track. This is I by Smashing Pumpkins. It's I-E-Y-E, like the thing in your head, not like I myself. And dude, the beat to this is just so killer. I've always wanted to sample the beat to this song and rap over it. The only problem is I can't rap, so like I don't understand. Like, but I think it would make a really killer slamming SoundCloud song or something. But like Billy Corgan's emotions in the song are just great. I think it's a very, very lovely tune, and the ending movement with just that na 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 part, I always picture in my head the Cenobites doing the Thriller dance, the Cenobites from Hellraiser, and I have no idea why, but like that tone for some reason just puts that visual into my head, and it makes me smile. I like to see Pinhead dancing. Goose, I'll let you go first this time.
I'll take the first. I like the Smashing Pumpkins.
You're muted, bud.
Oh shit! Am I still muted?
No, you're good now.
Okay. Well, so what I was saying was, as far as the Smashing Pumpkins go, I like them. I like Billy Corgan's vocals, and a lot of people have a problem with that.
You're muted again. I think your headphones are running out of battery or something. I don't know.
Oh no! Am I still muted?
No, you're good now.
Okay, yeah. Probably the connection. What I was saying was, as far as the Smashing Pumpkins go, I feel like this song could have been on the album without Billy Corgan's lyrics.
Yeah, I could have listened to this as an instrumental. To tell you the truth, it's actually a very synthy song. I think he recorded this with Trent Reznor. I don't think the rest of the Pumpkins played on this album. So I don't hear any guitar or anything. Like everything else is synth, except for Billy Corgan's voice.
The warbling sound of whatever instruments they're playing, the synth as well. I mean, but everything has this kind of like warbled sound, and I really enjoy that. And I think that it really captures a David Lynch style film. I wasn't impressed with Billy Corgan's vocals on this one, and that's not something that I normally say. Like, he's not the best vocalist. I put him in the same category as Bob Dylan in the fact that they sound like dental drills, but in this particular case, it didn't add anything to the song that I couldn't have gotten just from the instrumental.
Joe?
Definitely a different style of Pumpkins song. Like you said, I definitely agree with you. I think maybe Reznor definitely had his fingers in this deep. So, it's more like synthy, techno-y, it's more electronic. So if you dig that and you like Corgan's voice, I mean, match made in heaven, right? I'm not the biggest fan of the Pumpkins. There's some songs I like, and this one's okay.
Yeah, I was a huge fan when I was younger. I loved Siamese Dream and Melancholy. Kind of fell off with them actually after this song again. It's almost like, the thing with the Nine Inch Nails. I didn't like Ava Adore or any of the stuff they did after, really, but like this was like kind of like their goodbye to me too, and it's one of my favorite songs by them, to tell you the truth. I love this tune.
My favorite album is Pisces.
Pisces is scary. Yeah, that's a good one too.
That album I can listen to from start to finish. I love that album. I love every song on that album, and then the rest of their stuff is very hit and miss with me.
I can see that. Yeah. Well, that was an EP anyways. It was kind of short. I think it's only like, 7 songs? 8 songs?
Is Siamese Dream the one that had Landslide on it?
No, that's Pisces.
No, that's Pisces. Yeah.
Okay. Well, have y'all? Do y'all know who? I'm not trying to divert the conversation, but do y'all know who Stephen Lynch is? No. He's an enigma. Not the point. Point is, he's got a song called "What If the Guy from the Smashing Pumpkins Lost His Car Keys." I'm gonna send it to y'all as soon as this stream ends, and y'all are gonna appreciate it and love it. But I feel like I said, as far as Billy Corgan's lyrics, I could have done with this song without his voice on it, and I usually appreciate his dental drill style vocals, even on Landslide, which is a beautiful song anyways. And I feel like every time I hear him do it, he destroys it, but I still can't help but listen to it.
What's hilarious is I thought you were going to ask if we knew who Stevie Nicks was after asking about Landslide. And I'm like, dude,
she's
no
the
one's
woman.
You're the only guy that knows
I don't know
who
what you're talking about.
Mac is. Well, I'm glad you brought up somebody else. I was like, oh man, is he going to ask me if I know who Stevie Nicks is?
No. Thinking the same thing.
Hey, look, guys, let me say, look, I took my love and I took it down.
There you go.
Round
All
right, anyways,
next song.
Next song, we have Dub Driving by Angelo Badalamenti. And this is neat. I like this one. It kind of reminds me of a more chill version of something you'd hear in a Robert Rodriguez movie. Kind of just reminds me of like driving in the desert and you're probably about to like rob a bank or you just got done robbing a bank. Kind of like some raunchy guitar kind of in the background. Really nice, just cool cruising song. Like Joey.
Yeah, much more bluesy style, like you said. Some nice riffs, a little bit of a bluesy vibe. I dig it. It's definitely a good, like you say, cruising song. Put it in the background. You know, you can get some shit done to this song.
We are not mentioning the main aspect of this song, which is part of the title, with Angelo Badalamenti doing it. But dub, the dub style that we get, which is the precursor to ska, basically, is very prominent in this album. And Johnny, you told me take notes. One of the very few notes that I took was this being reminiscent of the dub style that we hear out of the Caribbean.
A little bit like the percussion's there.
The steel drums, like bro.
Yeah, but the rest of the song is such like desert blues. It kind of dwarfs anything dub about it, in my opinion. But I do hear like the island percussion in there. Like there is a touch, but I wouldn't consider this a dub song or like reggae by any stretch of the imagination.
No,
but I see what Goose is saying. So there's little parts where like there's little touches here and there. Yeah.
What I mean is, I think that Angelo Badalamenti is as into his music as David Lynch is into his filmography. And so him calling this song Dub Driving and having a dub kind of theme to it, I think is really indicative of how great Angelo Badalamenti is compared with David Lynch's directorial work.
David
Lynch. What did I say?
He said Steven.
Yeah, we're still on Stevie Nicks.
I forgot you didn't say Stevie Nicks though. Again, like I keep waiting for you to say Stevie Nicks, but cruising right along. Next, we have Mr. Eddie theme part 1, and this is for when the big gangster of the movie shows up, played by Robert Loggia. Mr. Eddie, also known as Dick Laurent, and which I named myself after for this episode. And this track just rocks, man. It is like a cartoon mobster type thing, lots of horns in it, the dun, 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 dun. Like it's grooves, and there's a really nice organ part to it. And yeah, I think it sets like, hey, this guy's a mobster tone perfectly. Joey, what you think? You're muted now. You're pulling a goose on me.
Definitely has that big bad vibe to it, like you say, you know, the intro to the bad guy walking in with the cymbals, a little bit of bluesiness with the trumpets, you know. And I didn't know who this Barry Adamson was, so I went and dug in a little bit to see. And this dude was pretty active in the punk scene back in the 70s. He played for one of his bands was called Magazine. He actually did a little stint with Buzzcocks. And he actually toured with Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds after. So
nice.
This guy's got a pretty extensive musical background, man. From back in the 70s. He was big in the punk scene from back in the 70s. So I don't know how they got this guy for. I don't know where the connection is. I didn't see anything that really really brought up any connections with him. And
I don't mean to just punch in, but if you're going to talk about early punk connections, we were talking about Iggy Pop earlier. David Bowie had a very big hand in the punk scene as it was coming up, and so I actually didn't know anything about Barry Adamson myself. But you said he played a stint for the Buzzcocks. He also did some other punk work, but that would be indicative of David Bowie jumping in on some of the proto punk bands like Iggy Pop and the Stooges. So we could probably pull that connection that Barry Adamson having his punk background with punk being what it is, like back to David Bowie, is probably how we draw him into David Lynch.
Not sure about that. I didn't see any connections when I was looking into his background with Bowie or anything. So I don't know if there's some other connection there, but he didn't really seem to have any connections with the Stooges or anything like that. He was on another scene altogether.
Yeah, he was in the UK, sounds like.
Yeah.
I think that he might just be another guy that was a fan of Lynch. Or also Lou Reed is on this soundtrack. Also early progenitor punk rock.
Getting into that.
Maybe Lou brought him in. So yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah. But he has Barry Adamson has a couple tracks on here, and I like them all. But yeah, this one's real.
Yeah.
And this one's really, really kind of just, like I said, man, really sets that mobster tone, and it's great.
No, it's. Oh, am I muted? No, I'm not muted.
No.
Anyways, no, it's I had to check. But no, I was just looking at it. Like you said, Lou Reed, which I'm so fucking stoked to get into here in a minute. But there's Lou Reed also. He came up in, I was just looking at it, and I was making a connection, but I only have 2 brain cells. Give me just a second. He did some stuff with Depeche Mode, so he could have been brought in by Trent Reznor. Not that Depeche Mode
he remixed a lot of stuff. People's music. Yeah.
So it could have been Trent Reznor that brought him in. But I like the track. I think that it's hard to find a track on the album that you don't like, especially if you enjoy David Lynch's work, because I think he is so meticulous that if it's going to wind up on the original soundtrack, it's going to be worth David Lynch's time. And this is one of those, which I didn't know about the punk connections or anything like that, but it is one of the more haunting tracks with the horns and everything going on. It's super great. You said Lou Reed?
Yeah, but like Goose was talking about, next up we have a really, really insane but solid cover of a classic rock song by Mr. Lou Reed. He is covering This Magic Moment, and it is probably one of the most interesting cover songs I've ever heard. His guitar work on this is amazing. I'm not the hugest Velvet Underground fan or Lou Reed, but I absolutely love what he did here. I mean, just that kind of weird plucky guitar that he does, and it's just him and the guitar, and he did the song probably the best it's ever been done. I think that this might be a perfect version of like this song. Joe, how do you feel about Lou Reed's take on Magic Moment?
I enjoy Lou Reed, so I dug his cover. Like you said, it was good. I mean, it fit the tone of the rest of the soundtrack. It doesn't, nice. It's a nice entry into the soundtrack. I mean, there's not much more for me to say on that.
I love the way it fits into the film too. Like basically it's after Bill Pullman gets turned into Balthazar Getty and he meets Patricia Arquette's character for the first time. She's the mobster's wife, and he sees her and this song just starts playing, and it's actually better than any other time I've ever seen in a film where they play This Magic Moment where the guy falls in love with the girl, and it's with just such this quirky version of the song, and yeah, it's incredible. I think it fits everything just like a glove, just like everything else on the soundtrack and film. All right, Twitchy boy.
Yeah, it's me, Twitchy boy. The pluckiness of this song is what draws me to it and makes me love it so much. This is a song that's been around forever. We all have heard it. It's great. But I think that Lou Reed doing it, especially in this style that he has, this kind of cowpunk style, where there's a little bit of distortion and you're hearing like it's almost, you'd almost hear the finger plucking in the song, and to me, it's fantastic. I know you said you weren't a big fan of Velvet Underground, and me not so much either, but I am a big fan of Lou Reed's solo work, especially Transformer. It's one of my favorite albums, and so when I got to this song and I heard Lou Reed doing one of the greatest songs that's ever been written, I was a super huge fan. It's so goddamn kick-ass. I know I've said a couple of times I was waiting for us to get to Lou Reed. This was the pinnacle of the album for me. When Lou Reed comes on and does this magic moment, I literally just like shut down, and I was like, this is fantastic. I could not put a better pair than Lou Reed and David Lynch. I think their work is very indicative of each other. And the fact that we were talking about all these musical artists that were inspired by David Lynch that are on the album, I think this is one of the musical artists that inspired David Lynch that he got on the album.
That's a nice perspective, man. I didn't think
Very
of that,
possible,
but I think you might be right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
So that's my thoughts on it. I've been. You told me to take notes. I take notes, but I take notes as well as any ADHD kid from the 90s can. And so all my notes were like, this album's awesome. Let's talk about Lou Reed. I mean, I'll just, because we're talking about him, I'll bring it up. You both have heard Perfect Day.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right? That song's about heroin. That
All
song
of his songs are about heroin. I bet you this version of This Magic Moment was about like his favorite fucking shot that he's ever taken, dude, more than a girl.
And that's the thing. Like when I was growing up and I heard like Perfect Day, I'm just like, okay, well, that just sounds like a great day. What he's talking about is like shooting up heroin and like spending his time like on the goddamn nod. But I just really think the pairing of Lou Reed and David Lynch is remarkable. It was one of the things that really made me excited to listen to this album when I saw that he was a part of it. And so I'm all 10 out of 10 on this one. This is great. The first time I've heard it, super awesome. I fucking love it. Lou Reed's great.
Nice. Okay, and next up we have Mr. Eddie Theme Part 2 by Barry Adamson, and it's basically kind of just a sequel to the first track, but it's more mellow. Like it's a little muted. It's kind of a little more groovier. I like the first one a little better personally when it comes to the Mr. Eddie themes.
Well, this one has more of a Lynchian feel to it. Like the other one's more of a classic bad guy coming in. Then they add in a little distortion. It's much more menacing. Like it's a much more intimidating version to the other one. You know, it's like it's escalated to the next level where the big bad is gonna start doing some nasty things. You know.
Yeah, because it is after he.
Yeah,
because it is after he kind of sees him looking at the girl and stuff. Yeah, so.
Yeah. He's there's bad things going on when this song starts playing this version.
I actually drew. I didn't so much on part 1, but on part 2, I drew big comparisons to "Dance of the Dream Man" from the Twin Peaks OS original soundtrack, and it has that kind of that slow, muted kind of the cymbal beats. They're riding the hi-hat on mute or whatever, but it really, I drew a lot of connections between "Dance of the Dream Man" and the Eddie's Theme Part 2, more so than I did for the first one. But still, as it goes on a David Lynch album, this song just really fits the mood, especially following up Lou Reed's. Anyways.
And like Joe said, setting up the menacing tones and just bad things are starting to happen. This next track, it may have like a very like lighthearted name. It is called "Fred and Marie Make Love" by Angelo Badalamenti. But this is probably like one of the most dark, ominous tracks, and it's cut with like the actual film dialogue of Balthazar Getty telling Patricia Arquette's character that he wants her, and it leads to like probably the most vicious line in the entire film, which I'm not going to ruin for anybody that hasn't seen it yet. But you think a song that's says make love, it should be kind of this bubbly, like sexy song, but it's just like almost just pitch black, ominous, like it's so good, man. It is such an atmospheric, just kick in the soul. Joe, how do you feel about this dark piece of whatever it is?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. You, it's almost like a ship sinking. I don't know. Like you're out in the middle of the ocean, the ship is sinking, and there's no hope. That's what this song does for me. It makes me think that it's done. You're like fucking just. You might as well live with it because you ain't getting out of it. I don't know. It definitely sets a mood of dread and despair.
I think that's actually a perfect way to define it because I put it on while you were talking a little bit, and it is just these these deep organs, and even the sound just from my phone speaker sounds really deep and just almost terrifying. It's one of those things that lets you know you're about, like in a video game when you're playing it and you're about to get a jump scare. Like this is the song that would play beforehand. It's just so you said ominous, and that's a perfect word to describe it. It is one of those songs that just gives you this pit in your stomach, and you feel it deep down, like something bad is just about to happen. And it doesn't matter whether you're walking through the park or fucking sitting in the apartment looking at Cuphead on the TV. Like, it's fucking terrifying. It inspires feelings of dread that you just don't get from anything that isn't Angelo Badalamenti. It's great.
Right. And like I said, it's because the love scene itself just leads to such a dark interlude that, like, I love that this track is as dark as it is. It just, it's so unconventional, but it's so David Lynch, and it's just perfect. Chef kisses. That's all I have. Chef kisses. Okay, this next one, I want to put a little disclaimer out. We are not going to be. None of us approve of what this man has done recently. We do not believe that. We are just talking about his music in the context of this film and how we felt about it listening to it, and on this, because this next song is called Apple of Sodom. It is written and performed by Marilyn Manson, and in my opinion, it's probably his creepiest song ever. I was a pretty big fan of his when he first came out. I liked American Family. I liked Smells Like Children and Antichrist. And then I heard this, and like this was even weirder than that, the really creepy stuff off of Antichrist, like Crypt Orchid. And I think that this track really, really fits well to the film. And I think that I think that he was really, really wanting to do just a really creepy track for a David Lynch film. And well done, Mr. Creepy Pants.
Oh, that's me. Oh wait, no, you're talking about Marilyn Manson. I'm not Mr. Creepy Pants, but I'll go ahead and storm in on this one. I agree with you fully on your first statement. However, this is one of those songs that, like, I first, when I was listening to the album, did not know that it was Marilyn Manson, and when I looked at it, I thought, that is very fitting. And I really do agree with you in the sense that it is his creepiest song aesthetically. It's one of those ones that just kind of grabs you and pulls you in. It's almost I don't know if y'all have heard his version of This Is Halloween from the he did a cover of it from the Nightmare Before Christmas thing, and it has very, very similar vibes to that, and that's kind of what I was picking up while I was listening to Apple of Sodom, and that it inspires the same creepiness of his version of This Is Halloween, but it's for a David Lynch film. And I'm not the biggest Marilyn Manson fan. I like some of his songs, but this one is probably one of his better hits, honestly, in my opinion.
Well, now, I have to say, I'm not a big Marilyn Manson fan, but I really dig this song, and only because it's fucking, he's ripping off Tom Waits.
Good call.
That beat, really it's fucking Tom Waits. It's so fucking Tom Waits. And this leads me to my next question. Why the fuck don't we have a Tom Waits score for a whole David Lynch movie? Why don't they team up?
Bro,
Tom Waits
so
doing
killer.
this fucking score for a David Lynch movie.
Joe.
This is all I can
Wait.
think of when I listen to this fucking song. I need it. I want it.
You're talking.
Make it happen.
You're talking to a younger guy. Are you and Mr. Dick Laurent both fans of Tom Waits?
Of course.
Yes.
But you don't like Tom Waits?
Dude, Old 55 is one of my favorite fucking songs of all time. Like, not the point. That's a Murder Falcon song for me. Let's get on to the next shit.
Yeah,
No,
enough with Marilyn Manson. We're gonna get in trouble for saying we like him anyways.
Hey, I said I didn't like him. I said I liked Tom Waits, and that he ripped off Tom Waits' beats on this. So
wait. What song did he rip off of Tom Waits for this?
Just the general.
Tom Waits does a lot of found object sounds to his music, and these little don't. It's a lot of it. It's very much like which album is it? There's one album where he just takes junk and he makes instruments out of junk, and the whole album is played with shit. He's like welded shit together and made instruments, and his whole album has sounds like this. Yeah, I can't remember the name of the fucking album now. I'll have to go and check, but yeah. And his whole album has that kind of weird sound to it.
And you can find that album if you join our Patreon. Like, subscribe, smash that like button. You know what I'm saying? We're doing this shit real. Let's do it.
You got to say guys a bunch if you're going to be doing those pitches. You go, guys, you got to guys.
Guys,
like,
you guys.
Guys.
I say y'all. I say y'all because I was born in a godless heathen of a state.
Yeah, but after this, we get oddly probably my favorite song on the track. This is Interstates. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's by Antonio Carlos Javim, and this thing is just, I don't know, it's just so relaxing and soothing, man. It's just this really beautiful piano jazz song. And it's played in probably one of my favorite scenes in the film where Balthazar Getty is trying to get his mind together because he doesn't know how he transformed from being Bill Pullman into himself or what happened to him. And he's like just sitting in his backyard and like he just looks over the fence and there's this little girl doing weird shit. And like this song's playing, and I guess you could say it kind of sounds like waiting room music, but it's probably the best waiting room song you'll ever hear. I like this track. It relaxes me. It like legitimately makes me feel good when I listen to it, which I can't say for most songs that sound like this. It's just really nice and pretty. I mean, there's no other way to put it.
We were talking about jazz, and this original soundtrack has a lot of jazz inspiration to it, coming with Angelo Badalamenti. But this song, to me, I drew parallels with Dave Brubeck's Take 5.
Yes.
In the sense of how relaxing it was. Yeah, exactly. It was a disconnect from the rest of the album.
I would agree. Yeah, definitely gives a different. It's kind of like intermission. You know, you're taking the elevator down, everything just stops. It's calm. You're riding that elevator down. Then when the doors open again, it's chaos. So it's kind of like that in between stage of like,
it's like
in a movie where there's action. They get in the elevator, it closes, then you have that how many seconds of calmness till the elevator goes down and opens the doors, and it's all hell again. You know, that's the vibe I got from this.
Well, it's especially like you just said, it's a disconnect from what you're normally feeling into madness. As soon as this song ends, like we don't get another calming point on the rest of the album.
I think this is what you call a palate cleanser because it ends up almost right in the middle of the soundtrack, and it's definitely a palate cleanser.
This is ginger, bro. This is that pickled ginger.
Yeah, and it makes me think of that scene in Fight Club where. They call the cops, and they're in the hallway waiting for the elevator, and he's pretending to dance, leaning up against her. And that's all I can picture when I hear. That's all I can picture when I hear this song. With
his name is Robert Paulson.
Yeah, that scene and that it just pops into my head when I hear that song.
There's a slight disconnect from the normal conversation. When he beats the shit out of Jared Leto, and then he says, "I just wanted to destroy something beautiful." I just want to let it be known on fact and on record that nothing beautiful has ever come out of Shreveport, Louisiana, which is where that motherfucker's from. So, like, that's a false scene.
I'm pretty sure there's lots of hot girls in Shreveport, but zipping right along, we have another really, really neat track by Barry Adamson. This one I love, dude. This one, it reminds me of like old Chicago Blue Note style blues jazz, but on hallucinogenics. There's like this kind of buzz distortion to it. It just doesn't sound quite right. There's also a guitar riff that almost reminds me of the song Spooky, but I don't know. I just really, really love this. It's very off-putting because it sounds like, you know, you're listening to a jazz song, but at the same time, it just doesn't sound right. It sounds like you're listening to it. It causes dread somehow. With the background noises that are involved in the song, it's creepy at the same time, and it's just a really, really neat track on the album. How do you feel about Something Wicked, Joe?
It's definitely got that a little bit of that disco-y, bluesy vibe to it, where you're strutting down the street and you know you got your groove on, and then like you said, there's just a little something a little off about it. And then when the lyrics, the singing or the chanting or whatever, they add this little echo or distortion into the singing, and I think that's where you kind of get that weird sensation. Like it kind of breaks into the song a little bit, and you're like, oh, okay. But it definitely has that strutting down the street vibe to it. You know, it's got a little more like kind of like the other one. I think this is like a slow, like we had the palate cleanser. Now this one's kind of slowly bringing us back into like it'll be the atmospheric dread, and you know, it's got there's a flow to this soundtrack and this score for sure. And these last two songs, you kind of get a feel for that.
Well, I definitely agree with you on that, and I think I also agree with Johnny on that there's this weird sense of distortion in the song that almost puts you at a sense of unease. So you're hearing it, it has this certain swagger to it, but when you're actually like really listening to it, the horns have this almost distortion to them that I would liken to what we consider the uncanny valley. When you see something that looks almost human, but you don't actually like recognize it as human, and it gives you a feeling of unease. I would put that with this song, as it sounds like a normal jazzy, like upbeat song, but as you start to listen to it, there is this climbing sense of dread that builds as the song keeps going. And you know, putting it back to the last track, like it is one of those things. Like I think this is the part of the film, knowing that I haven't seen it in almost a decade. This is. Oh, yeah, I was reading that comment. Anyways, this is building a real sense of unease, and I like it a whole lot. Like it feels like you would strut down the street like Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man 3, and then like you know, Venom would like bite your throat out.
Okay, in response to this, your dad's not the only one that watches the show, I guess, Goose. But it was a big concert. Like I said, I love the Smashing Pumpkins.
Johnny, is that your dad?
Yeah, and I really wanted to see them, and they played. Neil Young does the Bridge School benefit for kids with a certain disorder, and their graduation is this big concert, and there's usually really cool people. And I got to see Metallica, Lou Reed, Blues Traveler, Dave Matthews Band, but Smashing Pumpkins were the big headliner.
Dude, the fucking hook brings you back.
And then they came out and they did their whole thing. And then at the very end, it was really cool. They had Marilyn Manson and Twiggy come out. Marilyn Manson came out. He was wearing this big like fur coat and like this kind of like gold lame jumpsuit. He looked really, really funny. I guess he was preparing for Mechanical Animals, because this was just like kind of before that came out. And like, yeah, he came out and played. They did The Beautiful People, and then he did I with Smashing Pumpkins. It was a really, really neat performance, and I dug the hell out of it at the time. So yeah, that's a cool thing that the old man, which kind of brings back, because like I got to see a couple people off the soundtrack, man. I got to see Manson, Pumpkins, and Lou Reed on one day, so that's pretty groovy. He didn't do this magic moment though. He just played a bunch of his piano songs when I saw Lou Reed. But next up we have the second Manson song on this. This is a cover song. I wonder what is up with shock rockers always covering "I Put a Spell on You," because Screaming Jay Hawkins did it, Arthur Brown did it, and then Marilyn Manson did it. But I think he this was probably always one of his best covers, and there's a reason why this shows up on so many soundtracks. This cover of the song just rips. That bass line, that shit he does, like, oh man, this is probably one of the fucking best bands Marilyn Manson ever done. Songs Marilyn Manson ever did.
Yeah, that bass line, just intro to that bass line for the song is killer. Like, I love that bass line. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Marilyn Manson should just do cover songs, basically, because the rest of his shit is garbage.
Okay, so I like this cover. Sorry, I like this cover a lot, but I'm still in the seat of Screaming Jay Hawkins doing it way better. But if we're going to talk about "I Put a Spell on You," we can't, as a comics podcast, we can't go without fucking mentioning the goddamn Queen. Oh God, Catwoman. What was it?
Halle Berry.
Joe.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Hathaway.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Joe.
Kate Blanchett. No, not Kate Blanchett. Who's the other one? The young one.
Anne Hathaway.
Eartha Kitt. God damn it. Eartha Kitt's "I Put a Spell on You" is one of my favorite fucking songs. Look, I'm just telling you, I thought very indecent thoughts about you just now, right now, Joe. I was just like, you know what? There's a few things that I believe in, and I will be mean about them, and that is fucking one of them. It's fucking one of them.
Yeah, Joe, you make Goose horny. He was thinking dirty stuff about you.
Yeah.
Joe normally makes me horny. When Joe forgot to mention Eartha Kitt, my dick went flaccid as fuck. Like, my shit is so soft right now. It's Mr. Softcock.
Okay, Mr. Push and Rope, calm down.
Anyways, the point is, it's a great cover. It's not as good as Eartha Kitt's, but pretty fucking solid for this soundtrack. I like it a lot.
Okay. And next up, we have Fats Revisited by Angelo Basamente. And now this song should have been called Dub Driving, because this one totally has kind of more of an island feel to it. It's really kind of a cool, just another groove. Like, all of his songs are they're at the right length. They're all about 2.5 minutes long, and they hit their points and they just soar. But like, yeah, this is just a really solid Angelo Baldamente song on the.
He has this way of producing tension with his strings. That's kind of the point I wanted to hit on this song, is that the strings themselves are what drives kind of the focus of this to where it makes you feel uncomfortable. There's not another point of his composure, his composition that like screams tension like the strings in the song do. And I think that was a big point to make, was that this song made me feel very uncomfortable.
This song made me think of a dirty alley cat strutting down the alley. That's it. Next song.
Next song is Fred's World, and this one it gets really trippy, because this one's actually all about when the character played by Balthazar Getty really starts tripping out and starts, finds out there's the two Patricia Arquettes and that he might be being used by a fast talking dame to kill for type thing. And oh man, it's done perfectly. It's probably one of the best songs I've ever heard that convey just utmost confusion. I think that Baldamente just nails it again. Like, that's just how I'm going to respond for the rest of his. He just nails it again.
Hey,
yeah,
Johnny. Johnny. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
Oh no, I wasn't really going to add anything. I mean,
I was
right?
just gonna
It's the score.
say,
It's perfect. It
I,
fits. I mean, I just keep repeating myself
I
basically
think,
at this
I
point when it
think,
comes to his stuff.
I think Johnny hates me. Like, you hate me. Du hast Mensch. Let's get into it.
Okay, next up, we have how I got introduced to probably one of my favorite bands of all time. These guys never disappoint me. They are always proud to just disturb the hell out of me and be as offensive as possible. This song is Rammstein by Rammstein. Yeah, the band did a song named after themselves. But dude, the guitar riff to this song, it is so simple, but it's so effective. And I just love the backstory to the song. So, okay, Rammstein's coming up, and they're huge in Germany. They're huge, and their manager comes up to him, and he says, like, you guys, you got this new single coming out. Do you guys want to make a video? Who you want to get? You guys are so big right now. You can get anybody. And he was talking colloquially. He was thinking that they were going to pick some like German art guy. They look at him and go like, "Hey, can we get David Lynch?" And at first he thought they were insane. And they're like, well, can we try? So they send David Lynch their tape and ask him if he will make their music video for him. David Lynch, being the unstable, wonderful madman that he is, listened to the song and he liked it so damn much that, like, in certain scenes to set up for them, he would make the actors just stand there on set and listen to the guitar riff of this song and have them set the mood for the scene. And he did come around and he made a Rammstein video. Most of it's just stuff cut from the film and them standing around performing. It's not an exciting video, but hey, man, like that is one of the coolest stories a rock band could ever tell. Is like, we asked like our favorite guy in the world to make a music video for us, and he didn't just do that. He used our music to inspire his entire film. And dude, like that's got to be like the coolest feeling in the world for a bunch of poor ass kids from East Germany. You know what I mean? From East Berlin. So good for them.
Um, I so I have my roots from my Rammstein love from a movie that we may talk about one day in awesome action movies, but Triple X, Firefly from the opening scenes. Oh, dude, you know, it's so fucking heavy. And that's the thing, like, that's 2003. I'm in the third grade, and I see my aunt, who I think I talked to y'all about earlier. She's the coolest woman in the world. So she took me to see Triple X in theaters, and the opening scene, like, I hear Firefly, and I thought it was the dopest shit that I ever heard. And so with drawing those, the love that I have for Rammstein back to this, knowing now from what you just said that they were like, yeah, we need David Lynch, and like David Lynch like showed up and like hooked up some kids from East Berlin. Like, it's so fucking dope. I like them a whole lot. I think their theatrics on stage are incredible. I think that this song, especially for the album, knowing what I know now, makes me love it even more. Because we were talking about, I drew parallels to all the people that David Lynch had on this album that were inspired by him, knowing that Lou Reed probably inspired David Lynch. This is probably the purest form of the director, like, having a hand in the inspiration for the band. And so them getting David Lynch to do their video and them being on the 1997 Lost Highway soundtrack, I think is just perfect. It's great. The fucking, like you said, the guitar riff, everything from it, I say squonkiness, but that's not the right word, but just the bah, 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 like it sounds so industrial. It sounds like you imagine how East Berlin looks.
Yeah,
And
it does. It sounds
it's
mechanical and utilitarian. I mean,
yes, and it's perfect, man. I absolutely love it. Like when Lou Reed came on the album, I was like, ah. When Rammstein like dropped this, I was, oh man, the Rammstein shit was definitely a big point for the album for me.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I'm not the biggest Rammstein fan, but I dig the guitar riff, and you know, it was a solid song.
That's because you hate me, Joe. Du hast Mensch.
They definitely have a few good songs.
I mean, yeah, that guitar riff and just how simple it is. I could teach you how to play
Yeah.
that in like 2
I
seconds,
mean,
but it's dun 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 dun.
Okay,
it's catchy.
but
It's catchy. It's solid.
I'll play
Yeah.
the bass. Joe's got to learn how to play the drums. We'll start our own industrial band. We'll call ourselves something like Chemical Toilet. We can take this shit off. It's great.
All right. And next up, we have Hollywood Sunset. Once again by Barry Adamson. And once again, this is a very soulful song. It's very I don't know, it's kind of reggae too. Like it's probably way more reggae than the dub song. I dig it, but like much like the Something Wicked, there's like a weird buzz to the song that still has you unease, man. It's like you're like getting high and you're listening to reggae, but you know that other shoe's about to drop and your mom's gonna come in and yell at you or something. Like it kind of gives you that feeling. You're like grooving. It's a groovy song, but at the same time, you're just like, oh, something bad's gonna happen too.
I think that has a lot to do with the tempo of this song. I enjoyed it as well, but the tempo of it is what I think left me at unease.
Oh, it's got that whimsical, dreamy kind of vibe to it. I don't know what scene this is in the movie, but I don't know if it's like some kind of weird dream sequence or which is pretty much the whole movie.
Yeah, I think it's
David Lynch movie is like one of those fucked up dreams you have, and
I think it's when they're going to rob the guy that makes the porno movies, because the
okay,
next song is also by Rammstein. This one is called Haratait Mish, and this song when it plays in the film was terrifying to me, man, because like the porno drug dealer guy, he just jumped at him and he got his head impaled on the glass table, which is one of the greatest hilarious kills in film history. And this song starts playing, and the beginning of it's the spoken word thing by Till Lieberman, and he's just got that deep voice. He's like, "Ma Gigi Nochi Clyde," and like I was terrified because it's just like this crazy room, and there's like porno being projected on the walls, and like there's this guy and I didn't know what the hell I was listening to, and then that guitar comes in, and after that, man, I was a Rammstein fan, and luckily for me, like it wasn't long after the soundtrack came out that Sit and Soy got released, their first international album, and yeah, dude, after that it was all love for me in this band. But oh, what an impression that the scene that this song in makes, man, with the dead porno guy.
I would like to think like this song is very industrial sounding, and it's one of those things like you said, it made you a Rammstein fan, but like hearing it, especially after me not knowing too much about the film now that it's been a few years since I've seen it, but like this song is really fucking like, what's the word? It's heavy, like it just kind of like even the distortion that you get, and there's dun 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 dun. It sounds like me working in a factory, and fucking Rammstein's killing it. I love it.
You mentioned that this was a song when they kill the porno guy or the whatever. It makes me wonder which song was it that's playing when they're driving down the highway and all you see is the fucking the lines just flying by. Which song?
That's the song Rammstein. The dun dun. That's the beginning of that, and then you get into the guitar part. The dun 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 dun. Dun. But yeah, like when they're driving down the road and you just hear that. That's the song Rammstein.
Okay, that's from the Rammstein song. When that one's playing, that's where you see just the lines with the car driving.
Yep.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. So I was looking at the cover and I'm like, I remember there's that one scene where. Okay, perfect. I didn't remember which song it was. Cool.
And next up, we have the last Angelo Badalamenti song, and this is called Police, and it is wonderful. It is also has my favorite line from the film, Dick Laurent is dead, cut into it. And yeah, this is basically where they show you that the movie is one big time loop for these poor fuckers that are involved in it. And it's really neat. It's just like this kind of nice, ominous song where Bill Pullman's getting chased through the desert by a squad of cop cars. And the song perfectly depicts that, in my opinion, too, when you listen to it. I think you're muted, Goose.
Well, what I was saying was, like we mentioned before, Angelo Badalamenti will literally match David Lynch's ideas for how a scene should sound. And this is one of those things that almost every Badalamenti track on this original soundtrack has me. It leaves me with feelings of unease and tension. And this is one of those things where, like, you could almost cut the tension with a knife from its strings. It's there. You could not pair a better person with David Lynch, and that's all I have to really say on it.
Now that we're nearing the end and I've heard all these songs, especially this one, for some reason I just kept getting Hotline Miami vibes. The soundtrack to that, it's got this weird vibe to it, and it definitely gives off the same kind of similar vibe as this Lost Highway. It's just got that weird, like you said, it's the pacing or the distortion of the sound in the background. It just gives you this weird, uneasy vibe. And from listening to this last one, it definitely gives me kind of like that Hotline Miami soundtrack vibe. And I wouldn't be surprised if it had some influences from this.
Hell yeah. And next up, we have Driver Down by Trent Reznor, which is also accompanied by one of my favorite parts of the film where Bill Pullman is being chased by the police and he starts transforming in the car. This song is really, really neat. It's very, very techno. It makes me want to get my glow sticks out and just rave fucking dance. Trent goes full, almost trance in this. But while at the same time, like, there's a lot of rock to it. It kind of reminds me of some of the music he did for the game Quake. Just a really kind of nice, solid, little hard-hitting instrumental, man. Like, I like this track a lot. I can listen to the whole thing without getting bored with it.
I got these. I'm glad you mentioned Quake. I actually didn't know that Trent Reznor did any music for Quake, but this song had these like slaps in it that sounded like fucking hands hitting the back, like a bare back. It's a really visceral track, and I think it really draws you into the feelings that the movie produces. Especially like you said, he's being chased down by the police, and it just sounds like somebody either slapping somebody's back or slapping a fucking like baking sheet. It's just a bong, bong. I don't know how to accurately explain it through vocals, but it's really visceral. It makes me feel uncomfortable.
And this song, I think on purpose, he incorporates that wild, crazy, out of control saxophone screeching and screaming. It's kind of like his wink to fuck, I never pronounce his name right. Badalamenti. I think that's his like nod to him. Right on the last song, he finishes that song out all smooth with that saxophone is the transition into like kind of like him saying thanks to him and his influence on him for this soundtrack, man. I'm sure that's a wink. I'm sure that he did that consciously to pay homage to Badalamenti in that song.
Good call. And finishing us up is I'm Deranged reprised. It's basically just a continuation of the song from the beginning. It's almost like Bowie just recorded one song and they cut it in half and put it at different parts of the polar opposites of the album. It's groovy. If you like the first half, you'll like this half. Bowie's searing vocals and Trent's badass techno boom, shit going on. Good track, as far as Bowie Reznor stuff goes.
Yeah, it was okay. Like I said, I didn't hate the song. I didn't love it. It's a decent song.
That's still one of the only ones off the album that I didn't get to listen to because it wasn't on Spotify. So I don't have any, ground in this game.
No dog in this fight, boy. You didn't get on. But yeah,
dog will hunt.
That was the Lost Highway soundtrack. I really hope that like our descriptions of these songs might make you want to check this album out because it's definitely worth it. Like even the instrumentals, like weird songs, are every one of them so unique. I mean, this thing is just it's great. It's a piece of art, just like the film itself is, and
Yeah.
it's incredible.
As somebody who's a big David Lynch fan, this album, separate from a David Lynch film, is still working and incredible. I listened to it, like I said, 5-6 times this week. It was fucking phenomenal. So 10 out of 10 for me. It's great.
There's two ways to listen to this, and it depends on the type of person you are. Either on some heavy drugs or completely sober. Depending on the type of person you are, you're going to have
both together.
Fucked up experiences. So I don't know if you're a bad tripper. If you're a bad tripper, don't fucking do any drugs and listen to this album.
Yeah,
if you trip while on drugs, I suggest do some and put this album on. You might enjoy it.
Well, I mean, if you like industrial music, you probably like taking mushrooms, and this album's perfect for you specifically.
Yep. Listen to Glam Rock Goose. Just look at him. You can tell how glam rock he is. Look at that. Look at. Your new name is Goosey Stardust. All right, Glam King.
Don't forget, go watch Velvet Goldmine.
Rock and roll suicide, baby.
Yeah, watch Velvet Goldmine. We might do the soundtrack to that, man. That's got a lot of really good 70s tracks on it, man. Good soundtrack on that film. But yeah, this was another Pink Buzz bite, and I think we kicked some ass with it. I think we had a lot of fun. I think we talked about some banging music, and I had a good conversation about it, man. Lots of good talk. So yeah, until next time, this is Dick Laurent. I'm dead, and yeah, don't stop reading, don't stop listening to awesome music, and don't stop reading killer comics.
See you guys.
Take it sleazy.